hit the live button before while I was messing around with everything. So I guess I went live a little early, but that's all right. Um, yeah, I was just fiddling around with my camera and trying to get the camera in this. It's not a tripod. It's just it's this thing. This was what I was strapping my camera to, or my camera, because it has a camera mount for my DJI. This is obviously not this one, but yeah. So I was putting this in there. I must have hit a button and went live stream. So I guess I'm live stream now. So I'll just leave it at that. And let me see if I can clean off this right there. I have a gift. A disposable razor for shaving the rest of my hair off. Actually, yeah, I actually used to do that. It's like do the arm hair and all that stuff. I know. I think someone was talking. I won't drop about any names here, but they're talking about shaving their arm hair, and someone else was like, "No, that's weird." I mean, if you want to shave your arm hair, no one's going to notice. No one ever looks at someone and goes, "Hey, didn't you have arm hair before?" It's not something we pay attention to. So if you feel uncomfortable with arm hair, shave it off. Yeah, I shaved my armpit hairs because I was like, yeah, that's starting to look like a Sasquatch. So I decided to shave that Chewbacca off, and yeah. But yeah, no, sometimes like when I would do my head, do my face, and I was like, do the legs, do the chest, do all that stuff. I still do the chest, but I've never been like super Italian in that area, so I was like, so I shaved my chest. But then again, it's not like I'm a ritual at it. Like I've got to shave it as soon as I get a shadow. I'll let it grow out, but eventually, sometimes if I'm clipping my hair, I'll just shave the chest too. All right, guys, what is to talk about? I'm sitting on the ground because I was trying to get the ground is clean here. I know I'm shaking around the camera. It's these type of pine needles. Now, pine needles are great duff. What they call duff is the things that fall off the tree. So when you hear me ever say duff, I'm talking about this stuff right here. Pine needles are the best duff in the world because they're waterproof, they're clean, they're comfortable to sit on. But these type of pine needles, if you wear your socks, they stick to your socks for some reason. They're like soup. I mean, to the point where you almost had to throw away your socks. There's so many on it. But pine needles in general, from evergreens and stuff, they're just such a handy. Pine trees in general are just such a handy tree that you can use the sap for fire starting. You can use the sap with a little charcoal grinded up into it as glue and stuff like that. It's called pitch. Like pitch sticks and stuff like that, glue sticks. But in general, I used to go out and just collect the pine needles off of, not these type of pine trees, or I mean real pine trees, like. But anyway, like Douglas firs and different things like these. These are the standard trees, you know. But then around my camp, I would just coat. During the winter times when everything gets really muddy, just put down a big old layer of pine needles. The only bad thing about pine needles is it's a fire hazard when it's dry out. So you don't want too much around, like your fire pits and stuff like that. So anyway, that's just a little bit of a ramble. I have not had my coffee. I'm in the same, sorry guys. I'm in the same campsite here. So I still got my Hennessy hammock hung up, and I know you guys are feeling the time warp effect, because where I'm actually live streaming from is not the same as the videos. The videos still have me down in Airpapan and stuff like I know that, but I was able to upload 2 videos using my data service yesterday. So all I need to do is get the thumbnails on them, title it, and all that stuff, which I'm getting a little faster at doing, and then try and put them out. So they're already uploaded to YouTube. I just, um, and all that stuff. What I'll do is I'll put them. I won't put them unlisted until I get a thumbnail on stuff like that on them, but I'll throw them in a playlist for all you guys, and I won't set them as premiere yet. So if you guys want a sneak peek at the upcoming videos, I'll throw them in the playlist, not throw a premiere on them yet, and then you guys can rummage through the playlist folder, find it, and watch it first, and then later on I can set it as a premiere if I want to. Just give everybody like a small notice or something. I don't do the 1 or 2 day notice because I don't know if I can live up to that schedule. 1 or 2 days is a little too advanced or too far in the future for me. Too many changes can happen along the way. Besides that, yeah, I'm thinking, so this camping area right here, which is funny because behind me is the main street, which is not like super busy at all, right? That's the river. That's the river that comes right through, right? And then on this side is the ocean. So I'm literally on just a small little piece of land between the river and the ocean, and there's just like a small little community down the way. I lucked out because like the nearest gas station's 5 kilometers, right? But there's literally 500 meters, and I mean, just in that direction, probably less, is a little grocery store, and it has everything you need. Like it has like small amount of produce, like the stuff that doesn't spoil quickly, like lettuce spoils too quickly, but they have the onions, the garlics, the potatoes, they have the top ramen, they have all the sodas that you'd want, like, so I picked up top ramen, some snack item stuff, and then there's out front was some vendors that were selling chicken, fried chicken. Another vendor was actually selling fried bananas. So I mean, but my main concern was just the water. And that store had plenty of water. So yeah, I mean, there are some very small mom and pops little things, and they do have, like, at the park right next to me, very, very slow, like, except for during sunset, some of the locals come out with their families and stuff like that and hang out at the park. And even though the sunset's on this side, it's still, you're getting off of work, you're coming home to your kids, you want to take your kids out to the park and stuff, and that's a really nice park over there. This whole place is really nice. So, but they do have a street vendor, or like a street market on Saturdays, a Saturday market right there. And I noticed that on the sign between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. They asked no one to actually hang around there. So yeah, I decided to stay another night since everything was like right at my fingertips. And it rained a little bit, but then the sun was still out while it was raining, which is one of those things. Yeah, I was like, I'd be crazy to leave here. So I think I might actually stay one more night. If I stay one more night, I'll be fully caught up on all my editing and stuff like that. It does take a long time to upload a video though. The only way I was able to upload 2 yesterday is I started in the morning uploading one, and it's one of those things I can't even like really just leave it alone, go to sleep, because sometimes it just, for some reason, it shuts itself off. It decides to stop uploading, even with all the precautions that I take. So I just had to kind of roll out of bed once in a while and check on it and stuff like that, and getting to bed, waking up at 9, so to post this, and then going to bed At 1 o'clock, I still get 8 hours, but then I gotta wake up a little off and on. But this spot's super cool. I think I'm less than 30 kilometers to the actual main part of the city. I'm like right on the border of what's their boundary. So technically, I'm part of Kuantan, I think. But I'm like right on the border, you know. Uh, but yeah, it's awesome here. So I'm probably thinking about since it's so nice and so relaxing. The water's like super clean. Like this whole area out here, there's like no garbage. And the little garbage that I do see, I'm gonna pick it up and take it to, over to the park and throw it away because there's no point in not being in the garbage can. Uh, do my little bit to keep this little section really nice, and it's uh, it's like paradise right here. So I might just go ahead and stay one more day. I mean, it's it's better if I'm on the bicycle riding because then there's a higher likelihood that I'm gonna run into something interesting to film along the way and stuff like this. But the fact is, when something like this pops up, you know, it's like I'd be crazy not to actually stay longer. Like this is so clean right now. Here, I'm able to walk around in bare feet. And that's not that. That's a that's that's a privilege in a lot of spots I've been. Like I definitely couldn't have walked around on any of the beaches in Vietnam, and you know, most of the spots I've been at, it's like that. There's always it's tourists, it's even locals, it's everything. It's just man in general are dirty people. Um, but yeah, guys, I plan on staying probably one more night here, um, and just relaxing because I mean I could go up to Quinton and all that stuff, but as long as I got the power bank, which I am pretty well expended, I still got I think still got 120,000 left, so that's enough for one more day, and I'll just do that. So I hang out here. I'm sorry, I'm ignoring the chat room. I just realized that, and I don't know where my other phone is. So sorry, guys. I just realized that I'm just blabbing away. Okay. So Ali, hello expat, hello Doug, hello Flea, Hit List, what's up, my brother? CS, nice to see you, my brother. I think I got Extent Sunshine. Okay, what's up? Okay, now go over the comments real quick. So I have not had my caffeine this morning, so my brain is well, technically this would be midday for most people, but Doug, you're busy packing for your trip to KL. Multitasking, yeah. I don't. Packing is always a pain in the ass. That's another reason why I like to travel a little lighter, is because it's just, it's like in the mornings, you gotta, even with the snake skin and stuff, you just pull it over and stuff like this, but you got all this stuff, and the less of this stuff you have, the quicker your packing goes. And usually packing still takes me 45 minutes, an hour, and I'm pretty sure if the rain hit and I just shoved everything in my backpack, it would still probably take me 15 minutes, or even a half an hour. So it's like, if a storm hits me fast, I'm not, I'm gonna get wet. So let's see. So Doug's on the way to KL, or packing for the way to the KL. Uh, mm, Flea wants to know if he's bringing his bicycle. Oh, I guess you guys can read the. Well, not for the ones that are watching later. They don't know what's going on in the chat room. Hitless is having breakfast with the family. I'm bringing my bicycle. News. Yeah, you got it down for your passport. That's right. So how does that work, Doug? Do they sew in new pages, or do they just you have to get a whole new passport, even though you still have 5 years on it or something? Um, CS, you're asking me if I'm in Tengjun, Lumpur? No, I'm in uh, what is it, Kuantan? Right on the outskirts. Um, Where's my other phone here, guys? Let me find my other phone so I can start doing the references here. Sorry, I don't know how I misplaced my other. Well, which phone am I looking for? There it is. It helps to know which phone I'm looking for because of the size difference. The more expensive one's the smaller one. So, Google Maps is updated. If you look, pull up my, jump in the description. Um, so CS, I'm not sure if you know this, but if you go into the description of my videos, you'll see something that says read my Google Maps journal. That there's a link to all the spots that I sleep. Each night I drop a little blue dot, you see? So the blue dot's right there, that's where I am. So if you pull up the Malaysian folder, so which says Malaysia, cheap bicycle across Malaysia, that'll give you my Malaysian folder. If you go to the Vietnam playlist and get in that description, it'll give you the folder to the Vietnam. I'm going to combine all the folders together so people that just want an idea of everywhere I've traveled in Southeast Asia or in the world in general would be able to just see it from one folder instead of separate folders, but I'll do that later. So this will give you, when you pull that up, you'll get an idea of all the spots I started. So I started, this has the mirror effect. Sorry guys, I haven't changed that setting yet. So it started way up here on the west coast, and I'm going down and around. I'm actually going counterclockwise. So where I'm at right now is right below Kuantan, and yeah, I know it's backwards, so I'll try and remember to change that as soon as I can. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think I can change that while I'm doing this without retouch. I think that's something I have to change on my actual phone, not on the live stream itself. So anyway, yeah, you can access my point, and yeah, I updated it. And when you do open these, like if you, it'll tell you basically my location, but right underneath it, it also says so maybe I didn't add notes on that one, but usually if you open up the notes section, it's my journal. So it's just basically it tell you what says August, like this is the last spot I was in. It says August 23rd, 2025, day 70. Found a nice camp along the beach. I asked some locals if it was all right to camp on the beach since the place looks like it's in someone's backyard. But the locals I asked reassured me that it was okay. I'm really liking the camping on the east side along uh, side, although there is a lot although there is not a lot of affordable accommodations, but the camping's good. So yeah, that's all open to read and stuff. Um, that's just something I started personally myself, and then I decided to just start sharing it with everybody, and it's a good addition. So feel free to yeah, that'll if you turn on satellite view, that's the best too, because then you can actually see the trees and the location I'm in and stuff like that. Unless it's like a really old satellite view, and then it might just show a dirt lot, or very young trees that aren't fully grown. Eternal Sunshine, how you doing? Uh, um, yeah, it's low res this morning. Yeah, it probably is. It's probably a combination because my signal. I notice sometimes it YouTube buffering, so I'll try not to move around too much. But also, it's just crappy SIM card providers here. And I mean, I'm on the hunt to try and find a better high speed provider with good coverage. So, um, uh, Eternal Sunshine, so what you're doing is a dream for me. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I wish I could let go of things and just go. Well, that's the trick is the only thing that's holding you back from doing what I'm doing is you know. Honestly, so that was something I learned when I was younger. Growing up, like I said, poor and stuff like world travel especially, it was like, oh no, you got to have money for that, or just travel in general. It was like, oh, you have to have money, and I think it's one of those wives' tales, like a myth that we actually build up because it doesn't take money to actually move around. It takes my it your fears of not being fed and not having water or not having a safe spot, safe, warm, dry spot. Um, those are the ones that are actually keeping you back from doing anything. That's the ones that makes you think that you need water, you need shelter and stuff like this. But the thing is I learned you don't need it. I think I took off originally with only like $300 in my pocket when I first went, like missing person type. Well, I was under the age of 18, but I was old enough to actually leave on my own. It just since I was under the age of 18, and I didn't tell. It was like I just disappeared. I threw my stuff in the car. I had like a blowout with my mom because I was working two jobs. Right, it was my first introduction into work world, and right off the bat, I got my car, but I didn't quite have enough money to get my. It was a '75 Firebird that I bought off someone that was going into the military. He took $800 for and it was already. I mean, it was like a project where they were fixing it up to factory floor, but he was like, no, I'm going into the military in like 3 days. He's like, I'll take whatever I can, and I wasn't trying to get one over on him. He was only asking 1,000 anyways. Just I only had 800, so he took my 800. But I still had to borrow some money off my mom for that. So it was like she was constantly. She decided, charge me rent, charge me bills, charge me everything as soon as I got work. Right. So it was like, welcome to the adult world. Now you owe me rent, you owe me bills, you owe me. You got to pay bills, you got to do this. And it was like right off the bat, I was already stuck for financially as soon as I start working. And the two jobs were both supposed to be part-time jobs, but they ended up just working me full-time anyway. So I didn't get any sleep, and it was just like I eventually. But since I was still living with my mom, still paying rent and all this, I was like still under her rules and her authority. So I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this situation. Because she called me on the phone. She's like, when I get home, we're gonna have a long talk about the rules of my house. And I was like, no, we're not. So I just threw all the stuff in my car and just disappeared. Well, she listed me down as a missing person, but that was my introduction into being homeless and getting past that first initial stumbling block of your fear of that's what's holding you back, because it was going into the unknown. And that's something that you always are going to have that little bit in you until you've done it so much and for such a long time that it becomes second nature. I mean, going into the unknown is just it has a fear element to it because it's unknown, you know. So when I threw a bunch of stuff in the back of my 75 Firebird, which the double bucket seats in the back stink for trying to sleep in the back of a vehicle, you know. I just went back up to where I knew, which was Olympia, Washington. You know, that was like the last spot that I had, you know, skateboarding friends and stuff like this up there. So not that long ago, so I decided to head back up there. And when I got up there, that's when I first became a street kid, basically a homeless person, you know, on the streets. And there's a lot in Olympia, a lot. I mean, you get hit by like at least 15 panhandlers per block, you know, if you're in town, to the point of being ridiculous. Everybody's asking for money. And there's a spot, you know, so I went back up there. I found the Yardbirds was closed down. So the Yardbirds is like a spot where you go get farming equipment, stuff like this, clothing, all this stuff. It's a Yardbirds. It's a yeah, it's like a workman's like place that you go, you know. But anyway, Yardbirds was closed, so I slept in the parking lot in basically downtown. In the morning, I just left my car parked. In the morning, I got up, went to what was called the Bread and Roses. And if you were over the age of 16, they allowed you to go inside and have in the morning and have coffee and sit and play spades with the old Vietnam vets. So that's how I got to know all the old Vietnam vets and stuff like this, which they were all suffering from PTSD. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them were. They just didn't know it was called PTSD back then. It was like, oh, flashbacks or whatever. I think that's what we call them. And but yeah, so getting to know the old Vietnam vets, sitting playing cards with them in the morning, drinking coffee, eating day-old donuts, and then everybody was allowed during the lunchtime. They served lunch. You sat down and they just served you lunch and stuff. So I started taking advantage of all while I was living in the back of my vehicle. I started, you know, I got past that first fear of the unknown, and then I started realizing, hey, this is doable. You know, my fear of not having anything to eat was solved by finding a spot that served to the homeless, you know, and me being homeless now. That fear of not having a safe spot to sleep while I'm in a car, you know, lock the door, you know, it's not as bad as it seems. Not having a roof in a house is not as bad as it seems. Um, so yeah, so that was a big eye opener for me, because basically, and I didn't have much. I didn't have any money really either. I mean, I had the money that was on me, which was hardly anything. But eventually, um, you know, it was like eventually I had to do stuff for money and stuff like that. That was I think I just well, I don't want to say it on live stream, but I was just selling weed back in the days before it was legal. Now it's legal, and you know, no one's gonna. That kind of ruined that whole business opportunity. You know what I'm saying? But back in the days, you could pick up a little bit of weed, break it up into smaller, like into grams, and sell that and stuff. But that was like just something we all did as kids, you know, to make money when you needed, because the majority of your money is relying on your parents, you know, and just getting past that initial stage. I mean, I did try to do other things like house painting and stuff like that. Well, but the majority of the time it was just that's how I made ends meet back then. Um, but you know, definitely have to be more aware of the people that are around you, though, because it is living on the streets and stuff like that. And you will run into the weirdos, because if you're living on the streets around other people living on the streets, it's usually because that person cannot fit properly into society or doesn't want to. You know what I'm saying? So it's usually either a mental health, drug or alcohol problems or something like that, or just a choice of that, they just like they don't agree with the status quo, the 9 to 5 job to pay bills on something that you don't own. You know what I'm saying? Because we're all homeless. It's just you're paying rent. Honestly, if you don't own that home, then you're homeless. Yeah, honestly, you're just paying that rent to stay somewhere. But stop paying that rent. You'll find out what happens. Um, and honestly, even with like the property taxes in the United States, that makes it where you can't really own property. Because if you want to just live off the land, you bought a piece of property and you went to live off the land with no job, just hunting, and gathering, and living uh, the way the old ancestors did and stuff like that. Well, you'd lose your property, because what happens is the property taxes would come around, and you need a job to have money to pay property taxes. You can't just go in with some furs and say, "Hey, here you go." So if someone's able to take your property away from you because you don't pay them money, then you don't own it. Even if it's written in paper that, oh yeah, you own this property. No, you don't. Stop paying the property taxes. You'll see who really owns the property is the person that comes and takes it away. So yeah, so I disagree with property taxes wholeheartedly. Taxes for streets and stuff like this, I understand, just not for property. There needs to be the option of being able to buy a piece of land and then just separating yourself from society or whatever, not having to work, being able to grow your own food and stuff like this. That should be an option, but it's just not an option because eventually the tax thing's gonna jump up and bite you in the ass. So anyway, that's just me being super opinionated about taxes. But obviously, I don't own a piece of property, but I am traveling because I was saving for a piece of property. So when COVID hit, I was traveling. I was actually traveling to Tennessee. I was coming from Hawaii to Tennessee because of MTOI. MTOI is a Messianic congregation, Torah observant Messianic congregation. That means that's where that's they follow the laws of Moshe, but they're basically hybrid Christians. They don't really technically. Well, it's like the Worldwide Church of God. If you know anything about Armstrong, it's basically kind of like a takeoff and the splinter groups of the Worldwide Church of God. Most of the Messianic whatever leaders, let's just put it that way, usually came from that whole Worldwide Church of God type thing. But yeah, that was what I went there for, and COVID is what happened. So I was already living in a tent, like in 32 acres, because I went to the campground at first, right? So I got to what am I thinking? I got to Tennessee, and right off the bat, I was staying in a campground, and this is it's right above Chattanooga. But I was staying in the campground, and the campground was still like $26 a night. And I'm like, well, that's $100 after like 4 nights. And that's bringing your own camp. So I got on satellite view, and I noticed that there was a field right up like an overgrown access hill. So I went up the overgrown access hill. It was to actually change the sign for the billboard, which was a huge, like tornado-proof billboard, and but it was overgrown because they decided to take a different road in, so the access road was no longer being used. So I just kind of walked up that because it was a pretty steep hill, and when I got to the top of the hill, it just flattened out. They flattened it out a long time ago because it was like commercial area. So I was looking down on the campground, but it was all like evergreens, like pine trees and deer. There was deer, there was rabbits, there was birds, and it was just way more beautiful than the campground and free. So I just grabbed my stuff and hauled up my, I think it was one of those 7-man teepees by Ozark Trails, that were being sold for like $50, $60 at the time. Those were awesome, man. Seriously, they were like a wishbone internal frame, so no center pole. It was just two side poles that in the shape of a wishbone that were held up by the tension of the tent straps, the you know, and that was awesome though. It rained really hard, and I was surprised it was actually waterproof, being a $60 tent. But yeah, I set that up there, and just started like, and then COVID hit, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going anywhere. That's for damn sure. So I ended up, I go charge up my battery banks and stuff at the truck stop. Walk across the field. It was like 32 acres. I'd walk across the field, come in to the backside where all the trucks park overnight, and the truckers sleep in the back of their car, and then come in after they get there, and because you can reserve spots. You call up ahead of time and say, reserve me a spot. We would reserve them a spot. They come in, use the showers. We had shower rooms, and then go sleep in the car. So it wasn't like I was the only one sleeping there. I was the only one sleeping in that field. The truckers were in the parking lot, right, on one side of the field. On the other side, across the field, was a campground. It was overlooking a campground, so anybody that might have flew overhead with like in a helicopter or something would have went, okay, campers, truckers sleeping in the trucks, and that's that one cheap guy right there in the field. They would have known. I was like, yeah, there's one cheap guy, and I was the only homeless person there, so it was awesome because anyway. Yeah, so it was awesome because there was no bus system. So that's something you got to know is what's going to determine like how many homeless people you have around there is usually food, liquor, and buses. Really, honestly, it's like you need a spot to pick up food, like cheap food, like a 7-Eleven even is okay. But you need a spot to pick up your beer, right? Because it's just hand in hand. And really, if there's no bus system, then there's not going to be homeless people in that area. Because it's like they have to walk everywhere. So since there was really no stores out there, there was like the gas station, right? It was a truck stop gas station, so there was there's a Subway, a McDonald's. It had everything. It's just really there was nothing else out there. So since there was no bus that ran out to Walmart and back and forth, where a person could fly a sign and beg and stuff like that, there just wasn't a population of homeless people there. Now, this was in Cleveland, Tennessee, by the way, right above Chattanooga. I was blanking on the name earlier. So I had the whole place to myself. So they kind of got to know me anyway. They were really nice at the truck stop, and that's when they offered me the job. They were like, "Hey, if an opening ever pops open, we need help, would you want a job?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not? I haven't worked in 10 years or something." And then they forgot about it, and then COVID, and they lost after COVID. No one wanted to go back to work, so then they remembered that I said I wouldn't mind working, so they hired me, and that's when I decided to start saving for a house, because COVID was kind of weird. Everybody's like, at least the people I was watching, they're like, stack it to the rafters. It was like Beer Independent was kind of like where I was getting all my news from. He seemed to be on top of everything. He's kind of like a homesteader, survivalist homesteader and stuff like that. I used to watch him a lot. Old military guy. And yeah, he's like, stack it to the rafters, beans and rice. I'm like, I don't got rafters. All I got is tent poles. And, I can't even grow anything out there because the chances are a helicopter is going to go over and see me growing stuff in a field that's not mine, and next thing I know is cops will be out there finding out what I'm doing. So yeah, that was crazy because I didn't have stacking to the rafters, so all I could do was start working and stacking my bank account. So I decided how much should I be paying in rent, right? And remember, I still get a small pension anyway. I don't have to really work, but I can't live comfortable either. I don't make enough to live comfortable at all. So in America, my check requires me two things. If I want to eat, I can't have a house. If I want to have live in a house. If I want to live in a house, then I can't eat, you know. So it's the one or the other. Now there's ways of going around that. Yeah, I can ask for rental assistance and stuff like this, which is another government program that I would have to, you know, apply for. Most likely I'd get accepted, but now Vagabond's gone, right? That means now I have to stay in a spot. And then after that, I can start looking for spots to churches that give out food and stuff. These are just things that you have to do when you're living in poverty, right? And so these are just normal routines. Trust me, I've done it all my whole life. So yeah, finding which churches, what days, and what requirements sometimes. You know, sometimes they want your ID and stuff, and if you don't have an ID, you should have an ID though. Some want you to sit through the morning sermon before you can get food, you know. Most of those people are a pass, because not that the sermon is bad, which they usually are. It's the fact is the requirement there shouldn't be there. So people have you know, it's like, no, I don't want to do it just because you're forcing it upon me, you know. So most of those churches just get a pass, like, no, we don't go there to pick up food. But yeah, so I decided just how much would I be paying? I'd be paying around, well, if you guys are thinking in ringgits, average ringgit per month would be about 4,000 ringgits for a small little one bedroom. That's average. You're not really going to get under 2,800 ringgit. So that's in American money, that's $700 to $1,000 for a one bedroom apartment, not a house, apartment. So I just took that money and stuck it in my account. I was like, okay, I'll just call it 1,000, especially if you're also paying $250 a month in electricity and garbage and water and stuff like this. It depends if it's in the price or not. It depends on if you go to like a fully furnished like apartment, you know, then water and trash and stuff is usually included in the price, but yeah, not always. So you're looking at $1,000. So I was just working and saving between $1,000 and $1,500 a month. So you're talking about between 4,000 and 6,000 ringgit every month is what I was saving. But it allowed me to do this. So once I stepped out of the United States, I decided, no, it's way cheaper outside of the United States. I'm not going back. So there you go. Let me catch up on this. I've been blabbing. You love packing. I don't like the packing process just because it takes longer than I would like, you know. And this weekend is a long weekend and there are many holiday markers. Oh, Flea, yeah, I didn't think about that. I'm also on the east side. I should have an okay at this next town. There's a handful of them, not just like one or two. There's a few of them I can choose from, but between the $5 and $8. So after taxes, you're looking at 8 to 13 or 8 to 12, depending on. It's the fees that I don't like. You know, the 10 ringgit tax I don't mind. It's the other sneaky stuff that they try and throw in, the cleaning fees and all this. Like I was gonna stay at that one place because the Wi-Fi was halfway decent for another night until I looked at my bill and then I was like, oh wait, no, this because it's you know, it's marked down as like it was almost $7. So if the 10 ringgit tax is only $2.50, right? So there's an extra like $4.55 worth of fees. That's fees, not you know, they're being tacked on top of it. They're hitting you with a cleaning fee. They're hitting you with this and that. And that stuff doesn't show up until you're right at the checkout. You know what I'm saying? And so I put that down as what it is. It's deceptive marketing. So I don't trust people that do deceptive marketing, and it's very popular here in Malaysia. And I don't think they understand how much that affects their bottom line when it comes to how um, foreigners, at least, and I'm not just talking about from the United States. I'm talking about everywhere sees that as deceptive and as deceptive practices. That's one of the reasons why that I know a lot of people prefer Booking.com over Agoda. Is Agoda has a deceptive practices, or they used to. They stopped doing the cash back deals just because it was deceptive, because they would give you the listed price after the cash backs, but they would still charge you the full price, and then after a few months mail you the cash back. And it's like, no, just give me the price of what it is. I don't want to be told $7 and then get to the checkout and find out it's $15, but you're going to give me $8 back in the future. You know what I'm saying? Or anyway, so yeah, unfortunately, it really does affect the bottom line when you start doing these deceptive practices. So once you get into the OYO, like, because I noticed that they do it a lot of the OYOs. That whole thing, once you start going slummy, you just keep going slummy, and your business is just going to tank. If you run a completely honest, straightforward, business. I love the businesses where I go and it's like $10 a night, and when I'm checking out, it's $12.50. I'm like, they didn't charge me nothing. They just charged me the 10 ringgit tax, and that was it. And I really appreciate that. It makes me feel good. I mean, it makes me. I mean, it's nice. It shows that everybody else is just, they. Anyway, yeah, I don't like sneaky fees. But let's see, what am I missing here? Uh, okay. Yeah, so I'm hoping I can get low cost accommodations too. Um, that's the thing is the camping around here, Flea, is so nice that's planning on staying another day. I'm not that far from it. It's almost like, why would I want to go up there and pay for it when I can just stay here for free? So I figured I'd run out my battery banks while I'm here. I mean, this is very enjoyable, man. This is super enjoyable, especially everything's so close. The little mom and pop store, which I'm going to run over to after this. Um, Pick up some things to drink and stuff like that, and just sit back, man. I was able to get a few videos up though, so yeah. Look in. I said earlier, look in the playlist. I'll throw up those videos in the playlist, and I won't put. They'll be unlisted, but I won't lock them into a premiere yet. So if you guys want a sneak preview, I know Ali probably does and stuff. I'll throw them up in there right after I get off this, and you can watch them. And camp on the north side of Kuantan. Okay, yeah, I'm on the south side of Kuantan. It's beautiful. So I don't know what the north side would be like. I I couldn't follow the. Okay, I hope. Let's see. Anthean. Anthean. I'm sorry, I'm butchering up your name. I butcher everything though. I couldn't follow the Malaysian series. Are you enjoying Malaysia more than the other countries? Uh, I wouldn't say I'm enjoying it more. It's different, So it's like it's each country is a little different. They have their faults and they have their positives, right? And Malaysia would be offset by the negative, like not negative, but uh, Malaysia has less like affordable accommodations for like hostels and stuff like this, right? Um, and what you pay for and what you get is not really like in Vietnam. The average hotel is going to be like $8 like a night, and what you're getting is so nice for the $8. Like you're getting like twice the amount that you're paying for, right? Um, but then Vietnam also has lousy traffic and lousy bicycling, and is just so. Now Malaysia has it's harder to find the reasonable accommodations. You're gonna mostly likely gonna be paying like $20 to $30 range instead of the $10 or less like what I do, right? So, but Malaysia offsets that by having awesome camping. I've had awesome camping here. Yeah, it's very easy to find camping areas here in Malaysia. But also the more expensive on the accommodations and stuff, which Malaysia is more expensive, is offset by the affordability of the food, which it doesn't seem affordable. Like when you're coming from like Vietnam and stuff, where you can get a bowl of pho, noodle soup for like $1 and stuff. But the fact is if you stay out of the stores, just stay out of the like the 7-Elevens and the Family Marts, and you hit up any of the vendors, the street vendors and stuff, you get good food. I mean, I really do. Um, I like the Muslim, one, I'm not a big fan of pork. So sorry guys, I don't like pork. So anything that's halal, I love it because it's like, oh good, because I know there ain't gonna be any pork in anything I'm eating and stuff like that. But I'm also not a big fan of shellfish, and in halal you can eat shellfish and stuff like that. So, but regardless, is I like the combination of the Indian food because the I kind of stay away from the Chinese Malaysian food because that's where the pork's going to be coming in, and I just don't find it as good tasting as some of the other ones. Um, but that's just me. That's my personal, and I think the food here off the street vendors are very affordable. So that offsets the price of living. So do I like it better? I like the camping better, and since I'm a camper, then you can take it as a I'm enjoying my surroundings more because it's not so much based indoors; it's more based outdoors. So, but a hot shower's nice too. But there are showers. There's the 1 ringgit showers and stuff. So I mean, most of those are just cold water showers, but it's nice having that option. I'm pretty sure I didn't go to find out, but it looked like the sign had the different costs for like 50 cents for a used restroom. 1 ringgit to take a shower, which comes out to essentially a quarter. To wash off, and so I appreciate those. So yeah, I like Malaysia because of the camping, but they are all different. Let's see. Okay. Sorry guys, I gotta catch up on that. So yeah, okay. Doug answered my question about the passport. So they don't show pages in anymore because I'm gonna run into the same problem eventually here, Doug. Because I'm gonna run out of pages. I'm not there yet, but I would like to know how they do it, how much time is involved. Yeah, yeah. You can't really sleep in a hammock if you're a side sleeper. I'm not a side sleeper really. I used to be. You sleep on my belly a lot when I was younger, but I just that's not a sleeping on your side. It doesn't. You end up being a back sleeper anyway. Sleeping on the ground enough, you end up sleeping on your back, unless you're curled up in the fetal position trying to stay warm, which that happens trust me, there's many a miserable nights. Living this homeless life is not. I mean, there's freedom, but there's a lot of times you almost die, and that's just how it is. Hypothermia and all these things are real things. Hypothermia. That's I hate the cold because that's the main killer. I'd rather deal with really hot weather than super cold. Now there is a difference. Is like there's a once it drops below freezing, everything dries out and it's a lot safer. So I prefer to be under the freezing level, like basically snow and stuff. It's clean, but it's right when you get to that melting stage, right? And the wind and the wet and the rain and that stuff, that's hypothermia, gonna kill you. Those are the situations that I used to always fear because I mean, always trying to read the weather, the clouds, and stuff like this, and always being in fear of it. But once it dropped below, like you're like, I'm working Fahrenheit, not Celsius, so you know, it's like, yeah, once you're down to like 5, 10 degrees and stuff like that, everything's frozen and stuff, everything's dry, everything's safe. You know what I'm saying? All you have to worry about is slowing down and not moving so fast that you work up a sweat, right? And but if you start working up a sweat, you just take off all your clothes. I know that's kind of weird sounding, but like if your shirt starts to get soaked and take off your shirt, roll it around in the snow will freeze your sweat, and then just bang off your shirt, you know, and it should be dry enough. It's like freeze drying your shirt, right? But just don't move fast. And it's hard because usually in winters and stuff, you're constantly working on your shelter. You know, it's depending on what shelter. I've lived in debris shelters during, not lived. Usually try and get something set up if you're gonna do a winter. But I've had to do debris shelters are like ones that you make when you have to, like when the weather actually dictates it. Like, hey, you gotta like a few hours before, before you this is going to be a life and death situation, and those are usually just big enough to climb in, crawl into backwards, and stay dry and stay alive. But if you're going to plan on doing the winter, you want something bigger. You want a tent or something. So um, I don't know where I was going with that conversation. Just blabbing. Okay, guys, let's see. Okay, found you outside. Okay, you looked it up. Okay, good. CS looked me up. He looked up my location through the Google Maps in my description. And send cops around hunt me down. Yeah, yeah. You ran away. Hitless was just talking about how it was his dad that um, kept getting him for running off, calling the cops on you. Yeah, yeah. By the time the cops did actually catch me for being a missing person, I just turned 18. It was in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I was hitchhiking out of there towards Seattle, and they caught me, and they're like, "Well, we can't do anything, but you really need to call your mom." But you need to break away from that sometimes. Sometimes the unhealthy living mentally is your family, yeah, guilt tripping you. Like, oh, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that. Like I had such a problem with like being guilt tripped about my alcohol consumption. But I realized as soon as I was away from family members, like I took off traveling, I had no problems with my drinking. Meaning it was that oh, you're an alcoholic and this and that and this, right? And it was that constant being fed that bad information. It's like, yeah, okay, maybe I was a drunk, yeah, and maybe I drank too much, yeah. But the thing is, the thing that puts you in that bad depression was that constant, you're this, you're that, that they don't know. They think they're doing it from a loving position. But the thing is, is their loving position is guilt tripping and making that person depressed and yeah, so and suicidal and stuff like this. Yeah, you know, you wouldn't believe how much words can affect a person. So to get away from family members is sometimes the cure for that, you know, for cure for your mental health. And the only way to do that is to get away from them, honestly, and see if that's the problem. um, but yeah, I think we all had problems with our parents to a certain degree. I still love them though. I mean, USD 1,000 pretty far in Malaysia you can live. Yeah, oh yeah, 1,000 USD would get you very far in Malaysia, all of Southeast Asia. That's why a lot of the people that are on limited income are coming this way and doing board like visa runs and stuff like this. Is because that's why I'm here, because the dollar can go a lot farther. I can actually eat food, you know what I'm saying, and stay indoors if I want to. So the dollar goes 4 times as far, and that's what I came up to. That you get 4 times the amount of food, and you get 4 times, you know. Uh, yeah, well, yeah, that's the average for what you're going to be paying in rent. Yeah, that's why I said it's 4 times more expensive. You know, it's everything. Allie was surprised that it's between 4 and 6 thousand for a 1 bedroom apartment. Uh, four to 6 thousand ringgit. I'm just trying to say, do the math in changing it over, and that'd be 1,000 to about 1,000 to about $1,500. You know, and that's not far based. Now that's not all of the United States is like that. Some spots are cheaper. Some spots are a lot more expensive. Some spots are 20,000 ringgit per month. San Francisco, you're not going to find a spot for under 20,000 ringgit. You know, for a month. For you know, that's $5,000 a month. Yeah. Um, okay, guys, let's see. As predatory and I hate it. Yeah, fees are very sneaky. I give it a. Okay, it does. Uh, yeah, Ali, you said that's why you go to soup kitchen. We used to call this the spots that that fed you for free the soup kitchen. So I'm assuming you go to them too. That's awesome. No, that's awesome. I fully I appreciate anybody that goes to the soup kitchen, even if it's just to go to hang out and be around other people. You don't. I mean, there's a there you it's you can go to these spots and meet people too. You know, just there's people on limited incomes and stuff like this. And we go to the churches and the soup kitchens and different things like that. Yeah, so that's the thing is you got to go all the way to the payment. Felice says that's why you need to go to the payment screen so you get the final cost. But then you have to exit out of that. That's at the payment screen's at the very end after you do the room selection, after you do all this, and that's when they tack on that sneaky fee, and you're like, nah, dang. Uh, so I used to eat pork. I used to drink. I used to smoke, and there's some stuff I just don't do anymore. I quit doing drugs, quit drinking, and he's asking why I don't do pork anymore. Is because honestly, it's because the like I said, I was a Messianic. So a Messianic is it's basically a Messianic open. They follow everything the in the Torah as still legitimate, you know. So they're not Jewish, they're not Christians. They're just they're you know, you have Muslims, Christians, and the Jewish people are all part of the Abrahamic religion and stuff. But then there's just weird side like, so the Messianics are basically, they follow the laws of Moshe and stuff like that. So yeah, so the same reason that the Muslims don't eat pork, is just because they're following basically a same dietary code. So what that is that old standard dietary code is still kind of ingrained in me. I just haven't eaten pork in such a long time. I don't eat pork anymore. I used to love bacon a long time ago. It's just I don't eat pork. I don't eat shellfish because I don't like it. Pork is just because I'm in the habit of not eating it, and it's just I don't eat it. So when I see something like halal, I know halal is basically it's stemmed from the same dietary standard. But like I said, when it comes to Islam and Muslim, I have not. I mean, I have not done as much of spent as much time as I should be. Like the Quran, reading the Quran and stuff like that. But outside of that, I need to actually study the traditions and stuff, which is they're pretty cool traditions. They're a lot older since they stem from the 700 common eras. You see a lot more of the original traditions of the full prostration during bows and stuff like that. You kind of saw some similar within the Yemenite Jewish communities and stuff, because they got locked. The Yemenites got locked into that one area in Yemen around the 700s. But then you had like the perversion of the Ashkenazi language and stuff like that that kind of was introduced and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's where it's just because came from I came from that type of dietary standard at one time. So it's just a residue from that. Like I said, my personal beliefs are my personal beliefs now. I went more of the direction of doing all my biblical and studies and stuff. Became academic, and academia, religious academia, and stuff like this do not shake hands very well with the I mean, it's not that they're trying to destroy or anything like this. It's just when you start studying archaeology and stuff like that, you got to take some of your belief systems and go, oh, you got to reanalyze your belief systems and stuff. And that's why it's just basically but my belief in God is, yes, I do have a belief in God, because I've always had. That's the thing is so it's so ingrained in me that it's like it doesn't matter how much the academia world can come up and say, well, no, this has been disproven, or this or that, or this is where the Bible and so so it's like you have to give up certain things like inerrancy of the Bible and stuff like this, and it's like, okay, you have to re-examine those traditions, religious traditions, and realize, okay, I don't like to talk about it because those are usually heated conversations. But if you want to know where I'm at, is my studies always falls under academia. So I agree with the scholarly consensus of the scholarly opinion of because it's based upon archaeology and stuff like that. I don't think that they're trying to, because there's some honest people there. Everybody doesn't get into academia trying to disprove the Bible. But when you're presented with when you're presented with these things, you have to look at it. It's because it's like, okay, well, the Bible's inerrant. Okay, which one? Yeah, because there's there's several versions. You got the Dead Sea Scrolls, you have the Septuagint, you have the Masoretic, you have the Samaritan Pentateuch. These are all the same. These are the same base literature, but they're different. And it's like, well, which one is the oldest? Well, the Septuagint kind of is the Greek. It's like it kind of goes back very, very far. The Dead Sea Scrolls are obviously do. So anyway, anyway, they don't really. That's like a hot button topic. So I kind of just try and stay away from politics and religion. So, but it doesn't mean, yeah. So that, I mean, but I will mention it just because I spent so many years in uh, biblical pursuit and just the trying to discover who God is and stuff like that. But if I was to do anything right now, I would spend a lot more time on getting to know the Muslim traditions and stuff like this, just because I have not given it a fair, a fair, a fair time. It's like so many of my years were in Christianity, and then studying Judaism. And the thing is there's three parts of that, and three parts of the Abrahamic religion. So parts. The academia is in a world of its own. But anyway, guys, that's just a ramble. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. I've been here an hour and 10 minutes, guys. I'm surprised I still got 15 of you guys sticking around. So I'm gonna sign off, guys. I'm gonna say peace out. I'm gonna say one more night here. I'll start looking the folder for the video. I'll post it in the playlist, but I won't make it public until I get the thumbnail and all that stuff actually figured out. All right, guys. Peace out. Bye.